Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Millionaire Purpose Discovery Program. My name is Blessing Theophilus Israel. Now, it gives me great pleasure to be speaking today with Jeffery NKRUMAH.
That's correct, yeah.
Jeffery is from Ghana, where I'm also from. So Jeffery, I know that you're coming from a sports background.
Yeah.
You run an organization called Inspired by Sports,
Yeah.
and you've also won several speaking awards,
Yeah.
public speaking awards. So
Yeah.
just look into the camera and tell our audience who you are and what you do, please.
Yeah, in the simplest terms, I'm one of the co-directors of Inspired by Sports. The program was initially to coach grassroots athletes and get them up to elite standards. Originally, when I started off as a assistant coach to an elite group of athletes. From 2005 to 2013, where I was part of that program and I was the assistant coach. Great program, traveled around the world, got to meet like stars. Yes, I've met Usain Bolt several times. Yeah, so I lived that lifestyle where I traveled and coached and went around with athletes. But then I just always realized I was a bit more than a coach, just the coach, or even just the assistant coach. Yes, I increased my knowledge in that field, became a biomechanics coach and then moved on to other things as well. But I always wanted to do something where I was more in control because I realized that working with some of the grassroots athletes along the way of doing that, whenever I spoke to them and they felt a bit more loved and inspired and motivated to do what they're doing, they performed better and they gave more when the coach asked them to. So I didn't know I was much of a speaker until I met Taha Andre. I always knew I could speak, but I didn't know the power of how I could be a good speaker, a great speaker. So for me, it was like, I spoke the first time, it was about, I don't know how many years ago now, but I was in sixth form. And I remember it was my sixth form leaver speech. It wasn't expected, no one knew I was gonna speak. I just asked them, can I have a few words? And they put me on towards the end and I spoke and people started to cry.
Oh, wow.
Like literally like, oh, it was a sunny day, we're out, courtyard of my school, and people were crying, people were emotional, hugging each other like someone had died. And I wasn't sure if it was what I was saying or not. But then it was so bad I had to leave school early that day because people were literally running around trying to find me and find out how I did that and what I've done and word was going around. And I was like, I just spoke my truth. And I spoke about what I was going through.
Sure.
So that scared me a bit. So I didn't speak again for about 6 years after that.
Okay.
So when I started the organization Inspired by Sports in 2012, because I had this feeling where the 2012 Olympics will come and they will talk about this legacy that they'll leave. And I was like, okay, but I want to leave a legacy. And I knew the government wasn't really going to do so much for the grassroots. They'll do the surface stuff so it looks good, but how do you actually get someone who's got a dream or a bit of talent from sitting from the sofa to actually coming up and then training and becoming an Olympian? There's a lot that goes in and no one really knows.
Sure.
So I had the talent, I had the skills, and most importantly, I had the ability, because I'd worked with elite athletes, to bring that structure down. That was the birth of Inspired by Sports.
What would you say is your main purpose in life?
So yeah, that's where, like I said, I started Inspired by Sports, was to give the athletes that sort of background and mentoring from zero to hero, as they say. And in the doing is when I find and how you find your purpose. And that's advice I'll give to anyone, just do stuff. I knew I could coach. I've coached elite athletes, I've coached Olympians, I've coached over 6 Olympic athletes, probably even more, I can't remember now. But I realized that I was a bit more than that. And the more you do, the more you realize. And the more you do, the more you realize. And the more you do, the more you realize.
Sure.
So one time I was giving a speech in the changing room and Taha, who's an accomplished speaker, who's run Toastmasters clubs in central London, he's been the president of that, he's spoken in front of directors, he's spoken in front of like CEOs of companies, and he's done training for them where, you know, he charges more than I earn in a month, you know. So and he heard him speaking and he didn't say nothing. He just came, it was on my program and I was his coach, physical coach and his mentor as well. And then afterwards came to him and said that, you got a skill there. Everything you do, he teaches people to do, and you've got it naturally, you don't even know you have it. You got stage presence, the way you structure the story behind it, the way you execute it, you've got it all. Like, who taught you? I said, who taught me what? Because the way you speak, I said, I'm just a coach. He's like, well, you're more than a coach. So he then invited me to a few events where me and him have actually done speeches together.
Okay.
Where we go back to back, but I had to get a bit of mentoring from him. He's actually written a book, which is out. It's called the Orator's Manual. Like I think it's 20 steps to how to become a good orator, but basically become a good speaker.
Sure.
So I read through that and I realized most of the stuff he was talking about I was already doing, and I was like, wow, this is powerful. So I continued that, and the more I spoke to my athletes, I realized the more they performed, and they outperformed. I mean, I've got like, today I've got one athlete who's in the top 5 in the country at his event, 1500 meters. And a lot of it, they don't come with just the physical attributes, but some do, and then some don't come. None of them come with a mental approach to be a successful athlete, and that's where I give them. That's why it's called inspired by sports, not inspired to do sports.
Sure.
Because I can inspire you to do sports, but essentially that's only one chapter of your life. But if you learn these attributes, you can take it on and move on into much more bigger things in life.
I know you alluded to some of the challenges you encountered when you were younger, especially you mentioned sixth form. What would you say has been the main challenges thus far in your life that has allowed you to be at this point where you are?
The main challenges?
That you've had to overcome in walking, discovering your purpose and walking in your purpose.
The main challenges.
I'm sure there has been many, but what are the key ones that you want to share with our students?
So, like you mentioned, the videography, that was something that was part of the process. So, I coach young people who become great athletes in their journey with us. Some of them move on and get scholarships. Some of them move on into other things like Ammar Zalaud, he's now gone into business, but he's taken a mindset in there. But one thing I knew I was always missing was the fact that these athletes are great, but one thing I realized is that they're not being promoted properly. So, like, we do stuff, and if you're in the athletics world only, then you know about it, because yeah, you know this person run really fast and stuff like that, but how does the wider public know about it? How do sponsors get involved? How do I promote them? So I've never done videography before, 6 months prior, never done it before. So I thought, okay, if I don't have the resources to pay someone to film and document our athletes and their progress, I'll do it myself. Yes, I've got a bit of an expensive camera, so I could do that. But literally, I couldn't edit, I couldn't shoot, I didn't know nothing about this technology, and I taught myself. So, back to your question was, how do you end up finding your purpose? In the doing is the finding.
Okay.
Yeah, the process is what actually allows you to find out who I am, what I am, and then in that comes self-awareness. So if you find yourself, then you can really go tripling 100% in that direction, because you know that's really you, and it clicks. It just feels good. Just like on a track or in the training, when you're told to do a certain skill, you don't really get it, but once it clicked, you know, well, okay, that's what it feels like to have vertical displacement. That's what it feels like to get a drive phase right. I'm talking a bit technical now, isn't it?
Yeah, what you're talking about.
But yeah, so yeah, in the doing basically. So like I said, and it's all part of the process of, okay, so you're getting these people to perform well, then you're documenting them, and in documenting them, you're making people more exposed to them, which is great. And then, but it's all directed towards the singular purpose of me actually sharing my story along the journey and becoming an inspirational speaker, because I've been through many adversities in my life. I was homeless by the time I was 18. I was a victim of a hijacking. You know, I've had so many adversities come on through, but I know that longevity has its place. Everyone that has been here, apart from Barry, is pretty much people that I've worked through Inspired by Sports, but where I've touched them in a way they've never been touched before, mentored them in a way they've never been mentored before, they've now become like a close-knit friends community. So it's like I've managed to be able to build something that I know that actually, you know, I've got people that have got my back now. So I have a far more better grounding than if I was just, it's a company and they just come through, they do what they have to do and then they go. But now it's like, even if I need them, I can call upon them, even if they're not directly part of the company anymore. So yeah, the biggest challenge I faced in this process was the fact that I realized that, you know, you have to play the long game, not the short game.
Okay, good. There are two last questions I want to ask, and the first of the two is, why is sports important? Because your whole ethos is inspired by sports. You know, can't we just live through life without doing any form of sports? Why is it that for you sports mean so much?
It's very simple. I always say sports is a way of life. It doesn't have to be sports.
Okay.
Every morning I wake up and I feed the physical body by doing exercise, which could be a sport for anyone. And that allows me to feed my mental state. So without the right physical state, your mental state will struggle as well. Being an entrepreneur, as you know, I'm not quite there yet, I don't say that, but I would say I'm becoming an entrepreneur.
Sure.
You know that it takes a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
You need energy.
Yeah.
stop right there. You need energy to do it. Yeah.
Definitely.
And if you don't have the energy, you can't be emailing people after work hours, like you alluded to it. So I think Tara said that my 9 to 5 is this, and my 6 to 10 is this.
Yeah.
Okay, try this. Most entrepreneurs on the early stages of their life, unless it's given to them, they normally work 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
So people don't understand that. Now, when you work out, yes, initially you're tired straight afterwards, but your body rebuilds and gives you more energy.
Okay.
So that's what it is like. So the mentality that Amazi has, for argument, I had a Toastmasters club, which was in, I think it was Holborn, and it started at 6:45 in the morning. Wow. I had a Toastmasters club, and I lived in East London. Now me and Amazi will meet up and we will train hard, 4, 5 in the morning. Yeah.
Wow.
Then go to my Toastmasters club and then start my day.
Wow.
Now, that's all mentality that I poured into Amazi. Now he's now can go into business, and he's got that mentality where if he needs to be, he's up until 5 a.m. in the morning grinding, then he can actually do that.
Sure.
And by the way, the hours that you put in is the hours that you get out. It's a simple equation.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, okay, but yeah, okay, I don't have time to work, I don't have da-da-da-da. But at the end of the day, if your body is not in peak shape, then your mind's gonna be in peak shape. If your mind's not in peak shape, then you're not gonna achieve as much. So it goes in tangent, like you know yourself, it's long hours. You need to be physically strong enough to sustain it.
Excellent.
So I mean, that's why Tony Robinson does what he does, and he works out and he does. I wanna live long enough to enjoy the fruits of my labor.
Yes.
I don't wanna be just here and I work hard and I achieve, and then by the time I'm 45, I'm so crippled, I'm so slow, and I can't even enjoy it. I want to live long after everyone's gone.
Long and healthy.
Long and healthy.
You and I both will be living long and healthy.
That's the whole idea. So that's why, inspired by the sports you do, because like I said, it gives you that mindset, that mentality that, trust me, if you can do that for a 15-year-old boy, they will remember you for the rest of their life.
Great. And the last question is, what advice would you give to those who are watching this program and they want to find their purpose, they want to find their passion in life? What would you advise them to do? Please, just look into the camera and tell them. I
think I've already alluded to it. Like I said, in the doing is the finding. You have to do more to get more. It's very simple. Like, I can't say this enough. You have to be patient, number one, and number two, you have to be grateful. So there's something called the Thank You Economy. It's a book that you should read. When I post on Instagram, I have over 7,000 followers, but some pictures do better than others. And sometimes, this might sound strange, I don't actually want him to do that well. I'll tell you a little secret. Because once I post a picture, let's say it gets 500 likes, I will individually thank every single person that liked that picture. Let me say that again, individually. DM that person and say, thank you for supporting, look at my page and liking my picture.
Wow.
So now, next time when I post something, a lot of them reply back and say, oh, thank you, you're welcome, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if I know the person. I'm sure you got one of them before. It doesn't even matter if I know the person. Because I know that if I do that, and they genuinely know that I'm actually looking at them and I'm paying attention to them, when it actually shows that he actually cares about people that look at stuff. I didn't say comment. Comment, obviously I reply back to the comments, but I'm talking about even just the individual likes. Now sometimes some of our videos have got like, 2,000 views, It's tough, but if I've set myself to do that, then yeah, I need to reply back to them. And it goes such a long way, because a lot of time now, we live in this age where everyone wants something, but they don't want to give anything. And I believe give more until you can't give any more. And then give even more until you have no more. And then give even more until there is no more.
Wow. What can I say? I've learned a lovely trick to just be grateful and thank everybody. We take it for granted as entrepreneurs, but I'm gonna implement what you just said, Jeffrey.
Because it's true. Why should they like your picture? If you can show a bit more humanity, it goes a long way. It's like the handshake at the end of a business. It means something. A lot of young people think, what does that mean? But it actually means something like, you've got my word. And if I shake someone's hand, I give my word, I give my word.
Jeffrey, thank you so much.
No, it's always a pleasure. It always has been, always will be.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey.
All right, cheers. Thanks. Thank you.